Okay, so let's jump into the growth mindset workbook. Um, we started it off with a quote that is kind of important just to get your mind in the right place, right? Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. How many of you have had a failure that at the time of the failure, it felt like the end of the world? But then when you went like 3, 4, 5 months down the line and looked back, you realized that that failure was actually a stepping stone to something that you didn't even know that you wanted. So I think as we're going through this challenge, you guys are going to pick up that phone and you're going to have conversations with people that are phenomenal. And you're going to have a lot of people who might hang up on you, who might tell you that salespeople are slimy or that to go get a real job, right? There may be some negativity in this, but the big thing to remember as we go through this challenge is it's that you don't focus on the failures, you focus on the wins. And if you have those stumbling blocks or what you would assume is to be failures, that you just continue to move forward in spite of them and don't let them set you back. we're going to try to we're not going to try to we're going to focus on reshifting our values, what we value. So we're going to focus on effort and persistence over intelligence and abilities. How many of you guys know an agent out there that you're like, they are dumber than a box of rocks and they are crushing it? You're like, I don't know how they're successful. It's because they're putting in the effort and they're persistent. When you do the work, results come. So don't focus on it being perfect. Don't focus on necessarily your abilities. You're growing and learning throughout this process, but it's the effort and the persistence, doing the reps, time in and time out. It's about the process out versus the outcome. So Ramil's probably never going to join again because I always call on him when I lead here. But Ramil, you're a great example of this. Like, what's your calendar look like when you are really rocking it? How many phone calls are you making in any given day?
I mean, it's changed over time, but when I was like when lead gen was, I guess online leads was the most, any given day, I was probably making anywhere from like 60 to 100 phone calls a day. And then once I really like, I guess when I really put my mind to it and my business really started to grow, I was making just around like 1,000 a week is
Okay.
what I wanted to hit.
Do you know roughly how many contacts that really like shook out to be? Just a wild stab at it.
Um, Man, I really don't.
Okay. So
No.
So were you more worried about the outcome of your calls, where if you got a deal, you stopped your calls, or was it more about your process and this is the time block that I'm going to call within?
It was more just a time block that I was gonna call within. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And then now once I started working, with Matt, we had different goals. And I started having like, minimums or different things like that. But yeah, it's really I think a time block is better, I guess, for me. I know if I have 2 hours, even if I have a goal of, say 5 contacts, if I get those 5 contacts in my first half hour, I'm not just going to stop there because I have the rest of the time blocked off. So I'm going to continue calling. So that's what's worked out for me, and I feel like that's helped a ton.
Yeah, and let's say you just had a really crappy day and people just ripped you up and down. Did that stop you from making phone calls the next day?
No,
Right.
and that's never happened. That was it
That's
was it was a fear that I had when I very first started calling. That I was gonna get cussed out, you know, I had a bunch of things that I thought was gonna happen, but honestly, the worst thing that's ever happened to me is I've been hung up on. And so that's it.
Yeah. And I think it kind of depends on who you're calling and honestly, like reading the room with your conversations. Sometimes you have to
Oh,
adjust your tone in that. But I think you're right. We all worry about like we're gonna get ripped up and down, we're gonna get, rejected. It happens. You do have some bad phone calls, but I think the most people are kind or just in a hurry to get you off the phone, but not
yeah.
rude.
Yeah,
Um,
you can sense, I mean, you could definitely sense when someone doesn't want to talk to you and things like that, and they're not interested, but it's always been like you said, in a nice way or polite way. Um, yeah, never anything that's made me scared to call again.
Awesome. Thank you for letting me pick on you again, Ramil. Um, so yeah, he's always focused on the process, right? So you guys be focused on the process, not the outcome. The outcome comes with those continuous reps when you just follow the process. Um, Instead of trying to be perfect, I know I struggled with this one. I would try to get, when I would call FSBOs, I would pull up a list on Zillow and then I would go and I would look on the assessor page to make sure the names matched and everything was perfect. And I wanted to know all the answers before I called them. And then you know what happened? I spent so much time prepping that I had like 5 minutes left in my call time to call them and I wasn't converting. So the big thing is don't try to be perfect. None of us are perfect, and clients don't want us to be perfect. You're allowed to make mistakes, and you're allowed to say, "Hey, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll get back to you." So really, just look at them as like if you make a mistake, if something doesn't go great, just look at it as a learning opportunity versus trying to be perfect. Um, the other thing too, this kind of goes along with it, is failing at trying new things. We're going to look at it as failing at trying new things is better than winning within your comfort zone. When you stretch yourself, something amazing happens. There's just this little spark that goes off on your in your head when you didn't think you could do something or you thought something was going to be uncomfortable and you stretched yourself and tried it anyway. So we're going to become okay with failing at some new things, but giving ourselves on a pat on the back for trying. For some of you, this might be having conversations with new people. For others, it might just be actually picking up the phone for the first time. We're going to focus on doing what's hard and boring but necessary over versus doing what's shiny, new, and exciting. I I can raise my hand, probably raise both hands to this on how many times I've been distracted by something new and shiny. Getting an operations director on our team has been the best thing for me because she acknowledges my crazy ideas and then helps me decide if it's something I run with or something I need to wait and put on the back burner so that I can focus on the goals that I have already. So really doing the boring and the hard stuff is what gets you the results. If you're always chasing after the shiny objects or the things that are new and easy, if you're like, I love using social media to connect with people, so I'm just going to DM people, I'm not going to pick up the phone because I hate that, you're probably not going to have the same results as if you would actually pick up the phone and door knock in combination with that. So you can do the things that you love if they're getting you results, but mix them in with something that's hard and boring, but you know will also get you results or get you better results. And then we're going to look at that deferred gratification over instant gratification. So we're not looking for that hit now that's going to give us that dopamine hit now and like, yes, I had someone answer the phone call, or even like getting frustrated because you're not necessarily getting all of the conversations that you want. You're not necessarily getting those appointments. You're gonna look at like the end goal, right? If you're having conversations with people and you put them in your database and you continue to follow up with them, you will eventually convert. But that's okay. Don't just go for the easy wins now. You've got to go for the deferred gratification, the things that if you know you put in the work and the time, they're going to come to fruition as well. Audra, do you have anything to add on the values section?
I think that hits all of them so well. And I even was writing some notes like to myself of things that I know I've fallen back into old habits. Man, the effort and persistence over the intelligence and abilities. We don't have to know every single thing about everything to just get started because you'll never know everything about everything. And that and the perfectionism are the two that I get stuck in probably the most. And so I'm like writing notes, like just do the things, just get it out there, just finish, just be done with it so you can move on to to your next thing. Um, yeah, those just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great reminder too, right? That even those of us that are having success have to revisit these principles often. It's not like you get to this great place in your mindset and you stay there, like it's a constant work. You've got to constantly be reminding yourself of these things that you need to focus on. All right, now we're going to go into the growth mindset. So, how many of you on this phone call are just here because we're really great to talk to and you really have zero desire to grow your business? I'm going to assume that no one's raising their hand here, even though some of you are, can't see everybody's faces, right? You guys aren't on this call because you think that we're great and you just want to have a conversation with us. It's because you have a desire to grow. So we need to fuel that growth mindset and make sure that you are continuing to grow. So we're going to replace words like I can't or I don't know how to do this with I will learn how to do this. So instead of saying I can't, I will learn. I'm not good at, changing it to I'm not good at X yet, not as good at X yet as I want to be, but I'm in the process, right? We're all a work in progress. I can't make mistakes. Again, that perfectionism screaming loud here to I'm aiming for progress, not perfection. I'm going to say that one again because I think this one is going to hit a lot of people on here. I'm aiming for progress, not perfection. And then everyone is so far ahead. The comparison trap. What do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy. So true. It doesn't matter what the journey is that other people are running. You need to be proud of yourself. So if every time you start thinking, man, everyone's ahead of me, everybody's doing better than me, stop and tell yourself that you're proud of where you are in your journey and you're inspired by the people that are further ahead from you. What can you learn from the people that are further ahead of you to help propel you forward? I will tell you guys, this is a little bit personal, but I had I've done a lot of work with a therapist, and in this section right here, being aware of your self-language has single-handedly been the most important thing in helping me really manage my anxiety. It's the things that you say to yourself are more, I would argue, are more important than the things you say to other people. And I can guarantee you there's people on this call today that if you wrote down the things you were saying in your head and just looked at them, you'd be like, why do I talk to myself that way? You'd almost be appalled at the language that you have in your head. And you're not going to change that and allow yourself to grow unless you become aware. Don't beat yourself up. If you hear yourself saying, I can't do this, don't beat yourself up for that. Just stop and say, wait, I can learn how to do this. Just pause and change that language in your head. And over time, as you change that behavior and that kind of programming that you've got in your brain, you will be programming yourself for a growth mindset and allowing more growth to happen in your life. And then step 3, I'm going to have you guys do later because I think this is something that I truly feel you need to set aside. I put 15 to 30 minutes on here. I would even, argue an hour is needed. But I want you to dig really, really deep on the 3 things here. What fears are holding me back from lead generation? Why aren't you doing the thing that you need to be doing, right? Your job is not to sell homes. Your job is to lead generate. Sales come from the lead generation. The second one, what happens if I don't succeed in real estate? What does that look like for you, for your family, for your future? Number 3, what would you do with an extra? And I want you guys to break this down and journal on each of these separately. 50,000, 100,000, or 500,000 in your pocket. What would that do for you, your family, your future? And I want you guys to get deep. So we've talked about this a lot in the past. Our mind, our subconscious mind really doesn't know the difference between reality and thoughts. So how many of you have woken up from a nightmare and your heart was racing, you were sweating, you jumped out of bed and it felt like it was real? Or better yet, my poor husband, I get mad at him sometimes because he cheats on me in my dreams. And I wake up and it takes me like 4 hours to shake off the fact that he really didn't cheat on me and never would, but it happened in my dream and it felt so real, right? Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between the story you're playing in it and what is really happening. Um, so when you go through these exercises of thinking about having an extra 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, so it's going to look something like this. Okay, if I had an extra 50,000 that I could spend on whatever I wanted, what would I want? I'm going to tap into all my senses. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to think about what I want and I'm going to go real deep on it. So I'm going to close my eyes and think, you know what? I've always wanted a Tesla. What color Tesla? Like I'm going to envision myself walking up and looking at this shiny black Tesla. I probably should have picked a better car given the political stance right now, but a shiny black Tesla. And I'm going to look at that and I'm going to be like, oh yeah, that thing's shiny. It has, I'm going to imagine myself opening that door, getting in the car, turning it on, revving the engine. I'm going to take a big sniff in my mind and feel like, what do I smell? What do I see? And really feel like that is mine. And what you're doing there is you're reprogramming your reticular activating system. So now it's going to look for things that are going to help you get to that. So the goal is to get real deep with that. What does 50, 100, 500,000 look like for you? 500,000 might be, you might end up, paying off all your debt, paying off your house. What would that financial freedom look like for you? How good would it feel to write that check or to type in, that automated payment into the bank account and see zero in there? What would that do for your family? Close your eyes and just really feel all of that. Imagine that you're in that moment. And then, kind of when you're done, just journal and take away your notes on like how that made you feel. Uh, and it'll, you guys may not, it's going to get uncomfortable. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have an extra $500,000 in my bank right now. And it takes really getting creative and opening up to my mind to that possibility to even be able to dream about that. So it'll feel uncomfortable. Like it may make you feel weird having those thoughts, but it will help you set goals and then also just change your mind to be open to the possibility that you can do big things. I'm going to pause for a minute and just kind of turn it back to you guys. What are your thoughts on this mindset activity? Does anything come to mind for you guys that either you struggle with or that, if you want to share what your big 50, 100, $500,000 things would be, like, what are your thoughts there?
I think something you said a second ago is really important for everybody to remember. It's not a working on your mindset, working through these things aren't something you just check off the list and you're like, okay, done, I'm good now. It is a constant, lifelong, everyday, I don't want to say battle, challenge, but just something that you have to be intentional about all the time because circumstances change, life changes, business changes, market changes, family changes, and all of that stuff is going to affect your mindset in one way or the other. And if you're not being intentional about working on those things, you're going to look up 6 months from now and you're going to be way back where, but probably further off than you started if it's not something that you choose to do every single day. So when you're working through this, don't just write down the things, journal the things, and then set it aside. Do something, put it on your calendar, do something to make sure, even if it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, you're doing something to pour back into yourself so that way you don't lose the progress that you make during this.
Yeah, the best time to really work on your mindset, honestly, is the section of time right when you wake up, because your mind's kind of in between consciousness there, and that section of time right before you go to bed. So if you do, if you are listening to positive affirmations, those kind of things, like those are the best time for your brain to just absorb it and take it in. Who else? Anybody have anything on these lists up here that they really struggle with, that they are vulnerable enough to put out there so that hopefully we can help you guys change some of those things?
I can go if no one else is.
Thank you, Angie.
Yes, I had all the things going on during Lent, and then I went on vacation, and then I got busy, and so all of the things I'm not doing again. And I am And so I kind of feel like I'm floundering again a little bit. And it's Monday. I'm here at the call, and this is just really, motivating me. But, and I just don't want to keep, like you said, I don't want to 6 months from now go, gosh, geez, I wish I would have just stuck to this schedule, or I wish I would have stuck to that plan. I think I might have had too many of the things going on. This is what I'm going to do. All these things I wanted to change, and I just needed to stick with one thing. And but things are still great, but at the same time, I needed to um, really buckle down on like one thing, pick one thing
Yep.
versus all the things. And yeah, thank you for this. This is good.
Yeah, I think that one thing, it's always just start with one thing. We talk about,
Mhm.
you want, probably three pillars of business going on and at any
Right.
time, but start with one, then add one, then add one.
And that part of one of the pillars of the business is my sphere, and I've got my I did hire back a virtual assistant, so kind of in the middle of that, getting all of that, and it's sort of messy,
Yeah,
even though she was my virtual assistant before, and but anyway, just getting all that stuff figured out, and it takes time.
it does. It does. And,
And I don't want to give up.
you're in the messy middle right now.
Right in yeah, messy middle. That's it. Yep, that's true.
How are you all feeling about the challenge? How many of you on here, give me a thumbs up or unmute, whatever. How many of you are planning to participate in the challenge? Cool. Couple things. We purposefully did it this time of year. Well, I purposely picked this time of year. It seems kind of weird, right? Like we're in the middle of the spring market. Why would we need a big push with lead generation? We're in the heaviest piece of your the busiest time of your business. Well, what we do today, we start seeing 90 days from now. If you guys are like us, we have seasonality here and we hit what about July 4th-ish and things kind of start to slow down until the kids go back to school. So this is feeding the pipeline so that we're good and ready when things do slow down a little bit as well. So there's some intentionality between in the time frame that we picked. And then also, just, because I think that's the hardest thing. We talk about riding that roller coaster of real estate where we're doing really well and we stop doing our lead gen and then we dip down. So this is, to keep you consistent in doing your lead generation so that you're not just riding the top of that roller coaster, not doing your lead generation and you're going to dip later on. Um, so again, big things, download that sheet, use it however on your phone to cross off, or if you're gonna, print them off and cross it off on, by hand, all good there, but we're gonna report back on Friday. I'm gonna make a post on the Leverage Agent Facebook group today. So if you guys would get in there and just put like your goals for the week, who you're going to target, those kind of things. And if you have any troubles, if you guys have like you're struggling with scripts, you're not sure what to say to people, you got kind of hung up on a phone conversation and you want to talk that through, like reach out to us, post it on the group, direct message us. We'll get back to you guys and kind of work through some of that as well. And then for all of you that do sign up and that fully participate, you're going to get entered into a drawing. We're going to have 3 prizes. So we'll draw 3 people and then they get to pick their prize in the order that they're picked. So one of them is a one-on-one hour coaching session with Matt, where you can pick his brain about anything that you want or work through anything you want with him. We're going to have Audra's Friend Connect system that one person is going to win, and my FISBO system that the one person's going to win. So 3 prizes that we will draw from for anybody that actually finishes and reports back every week in that Facebook group. Awesome. Anybody have any questions about that at all before we jump off for the day? All right. Guys, work on your mindset, do these worksheets, and then get going on your lead generation. And I'm really excited to see where we all are at the end of May, and how this challenge has hopefully helped your business grow. Have a good day, guys.
Sorry, I couldn't get to my button. We
Thanks,
start
Michelle.
today.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
You
Have a
bet.
good day.
Thank you.